I couldn't believe I was finally walking into the news studio. You had never wanted me to see where you work. You said it wasn't right to goof around in such a serious place. I hadn't argued with you, at least not too much. I was content to watch you on television, your image coming through my screen every night. It made me inexplicably horny watching you do the news. It was my biggest fantasy, you sitting at your desk, reading to the world while I hid underneath, sucking your cock. No one would have to know what I was doing there, only you would know. You were so good, so professional, you probably wouldn't even miss a beat. That was the fantasy I always came back to, the one that would keep me up at night. You pushed the door open and my eyes adjusted to the darkness. I felt my pulse race, a little bit of sweat had formed on my back. Standing on the empty sound stage made it all seem so much less real. It didn't look how I expected it to. It wasn't very glamorous, or even very interesting. It was an industrial space with a pretty face on it. It had looked more like a garage than a news studio. The set hid the wires and lights and piles of garbage that the audience was never supposed to see. In front of the curtain in the backdrop of the set was your desk. Instead of being a real metal and glass desk like I thought, it was more of a mock-up of what a desk should look like. Behind the facade were shelves lined with your things. Papers and mess were everywhere, just like at home. I smiled as I looked at it. If only the world could see as I do. I told you, it's not at all what it seems. You were standing next to your desk, leaning gently against its brittle frame. The few lights that were on barely showed me your face. You had your suit on for the broadcast, but still had to go to makeup. I sat down in the fake leather chair. Looking out into the dark of the studio in front of me, I tried to imagine what it must feel like to command the room the way you do. The camera you looked into sat in front of the desk, a big blank screen underneath ready to be filled with your words. Had enough yet? I have to get ready to go soon. I turned and looked at you. You were standing behind the chair with your arms folded. My body flushed watching your uncomfortable eyes dart around the dark studio. You were impatient for me to go, but I couldn't have left if I wanted to. I hadn't yet gotten what I came for. Sit down. My voice seemed to echo off the walls. Why? Just humor me, okay? I got up so you could sit down. Sliding up to the desk, you straightened your jacket and your tie, as if by instinct. I could almost see you doing that very thing, while the whirl of activity moved around you in the studio. People calling out how much time was left before the broadcast, how the lights looked, how the script sounded. All that while you sat there and fixed your tie. You noticed me staring and gave me a strange look. Why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like you're ready to devour me. I didn't say anything, not at first. You leaned back in your chair regarding me with a puzzled look. Maybe I do want to devour you. Yeah, right, listen, I have to go, so you'll have to leave. You moved to stand up, but I pushed you right back into your chair. You looked up at me with a face I'd never seen before. Stop fooling around. I have to get to makeup. I sank to my knees in front of you. I smiled, but you were still looking at me with aggravation. Get up, I have to go. But I just shook my head no. There's one thing I want to do before I go. I reached up and took the paper script out of your pocket and smoothed it out on the desk in front of me. I moved my hands to your zipper. You tried to stop me, stammering about work and begging me to be serious, but I didn't stop. I want you to read. Read the news. Are you crazy? What is going on with you? Just do it, trust me. I slipped under the desk in front of you and reached back into your pants. You hesitated, just sitting there. Read, please. My fingers freed your cock from your boxers and I heard your breath, quick and erratic above me. Yeah, I know the feeling. Sorry. You cleared your throat just as I stuck out my tongue to touch you. I heard your voice fill the empty space. I knew I could never have the real fantasy. This was the closest I would ever get. You were hard in spite of your clear discomfort. Even in an empty room, I could tell you were scared to get caught. And after all, this was your job. As the head of your cock eased back into my throat, the news of the day filled my ears. Your voice wobbled a bit, trying to adjust to the reality of me sucking you off at your desk. My hands ran up your thighs, pushing you deeper with each word that came out of your mouth. God, you're killing me. I was pretty sure that wasn't on the page, but I still was happy to hear it. My fingers wrapped around the base of your cock, holding you deep in my throat for as long as I could. I ran my tongue up the shaft and heard you lose it for just a moment. I moved one hand from your leg and reached up my skirt to find my panties nearly soaked through. Pushing them aside, I let 2 fingers slide slowly inside my pussy. I felt you look down at me. You stopped reading for just a few seconds. I gazed up at you, reluctantly letting your cock out of my mouth for just a moment. Keep reading. Going back to your cock, I sucked the tip gently at first. Then after a few swirls with my tongue, I took it all in my mouth again. I felt one of your hands drop to my head, pushing me down. Despite my best efforts, you kept reading. I heard pages falling to the floor, landing next to my knees. My fingers moved faster inside of my pussy, as your cock moved faster in and out of my mouth. Your voice was frantic, like nothing I'd ever heard before. The words were tumbling out of your mouth faster and faster, but I didn't care. I just wanted to hear your voice. I moved both my hands back up to your thighs, running them over the Italian wool of your pants. Your fingers were twined in my hair as the last few pages of the news hit the floor with the others. You were harder than I had felt you in months. I wanted you deeper in my throat, and I never wanted to get up from under that desk. I can't take much more of this. That was all I needed to hear. My fingers dropped back to my pussy, and I felt your legs tremble under me as you pushed and pulled your cock in and out of my mouth. I wasn't in control anymore. You had gone back to running the show. After all, it's your show. I could feel you swelling like you always did right before you came. Your pace was slow, each thrust deliberate and forceful. I felt the tip of your cock hit the back of my throat each time, shooting another electric shock straight to my pussy. I rubbed my clit with my thumb and felt everything start to unravel. My orgasm shouted through me, but got trapped in my throat. I had to be content to moan around your cock. My fierce desire to yell turned into a few muffled hums. Your voice, on the other hand, was as powerful as ever. You cried out into the empty room, one last word from your beautiful lips. I felt you release your hands from my hair. Soon, your composure had returned. Calm finally came back to the room, and I looked up at you. Your face was a picture of a million different emotions. You pushed back in your chair, and I retrieved your papers before I stood up. By the time I was done, you were buttoned up and looked every inch the professional newsman again. I kissed you, the shock still evident under your unflappable demeanor. I should go. You have work to do.